All right, legends, quick one before I duck off to work. I'm going to go through these round 14 team lists and just take them with a grain of salt, guys, that potentially a bunch of these guys might not back up. I haven't actually looked at the team lists yet, so we're going to go through them together here. But if we're looking at our Cowboys squad here, what we see is Mr. Ruben Cotter not named in the starting side, and he's on the bench, and all the Origin guys are there. So Dearden in 19 is very interesting that he isn't getting the start, considering he's 18th man. So I think they're just playing that one cautious. I'd say Dearden at a minimum would definitely start. And Jeremiah Nanai is a great chance of playing in this game as well. I'm thinking he's only going to get a short stint on the bench for the Maroons there. So the other two there, if they play big minutes, I'd imagine Cotter and Holmes, that they're a good chance of missing out this game. And unfortunate for anyone who decided to leave Cotter in their side, thankfully did move him on, just thinking that there's a good chance that if he played big minutes, he wouldn't back up. But generally on the Cowboys side, there aren't too many changes in that from last week. Lukey's going to get his opportunity again to start. Taumalolo's in there as well. And obviously Talangi played last week. Same with Hamiso. But yeah, Ben Hampton getting his opportunity at 6 again if Dearden doesn't play. But I think that that Dearden will definitely play this one. In terms of Dragons, there's a few interesting ones here. Ramsey is someone that we will be thinking about this week. I'll deep dive into him at 315k. He's an interesting one who has since moved to the fullback position, has done pretty well, and at that cheap price could potentially make some cash. In terms of other guys, we've got Ben Hunt has been named to start, and I thought he would. He's generally someone that does back up, but again, how he's going to score, how many minutes he plays, will depend on how the game is playing out. And Tarek Sims has also been named to play, and we're not sure how many minutes he'll get in Origin, but that's that one there. Move to the next one. So the Titans and the Rabbitohs. Unfortunate news for Jaden Campbell. He's out for about 8 weeks, so a very high-grade hamstring tear, unfortunately. And Brimson's the one that's been moved back to 1. We see an interesting bring-in here with Paul Turner being named in the 6 jersey. So we'll have a little look at him, but with them missing out in round 17, it's a bit of a hard one to pick up any Titans players unless they're a clear top-tier gun. And they don't really have any of those guys at this stage anyway. Sam McIntyre gets his spot again in the back row, but I think that we just got to leave him out. Okay, so if you've held on to Lockie Elias this whole time and held him through round 13, I think you hold him all the way to 17 now. Get his 30-odd score. He's not really going to be someone who loses cash over the next period. So I think Lockie Elias is a hold. In terms of everyone else here in the Rabbitohs, Cam Murray's been named in 13. You should see Arrow definitely play, considering he's in the reserves for Origin. Damien Cook also been named, but they do have Mamazelis there, who will cover some minutes for Cook. Even if he plays, he won't play the 80 minutes, so just be wary of captaining him this week would be my play. And Murray, same thing, a 50 to 60 minutes depending on how he goes. If you're carrying any niggles, they'll be ripped straight out of this side. So that's the Rabbitohs. And if there's any cheapies that pop up, if we get some late mail and stuff, then we'll talk about that. But generally, it's just going to be more this week about who's going to be backing up, who's going to be not backing up. We actually see Tedesco get named in number 1, which is really interesting. And again, not someone that's very clear on backing up most of the time, but we'll see how he ends up recovering from Origin and then make decisions from there. But really great news for anyone who owns Teddy that he's been named in this one here. Joey Manu back to the centres, which is fine. He still scores well there, but not as good as in the fullback position. Okay, so in terms of our back row here, we see Crichton, Tupanua named in the back row, Butcher named at 13 again. So, yeah, really the big worry for him is he going to get 39 minutes again, or is he going to get back to about a 50 or 55, which is what we'd expect from a lock or from Nat anyway, who's a very hard-working player. So very interesting that didn't happen last week. We see Munster named in the 6 jersey. We still don't have any Pap, for example. He's not in the reserves either. But Brandon Smith's still on the bench. Harry Grant has been named, so again, depending on how he pulls up, because he's already, he's definitely playing Origin, he says, but he's still carrying a bit of a groin injury and was battling the flu. So I feel like it'd be silly to, with some sickness as well, gives you more chance to get injured when he comes back and plays. So yeah, named, but be aware that he might not actually play. But we'll see what happens there. And then Nelson Asafa-Solomona comes back as well, which is cool. All right, on the Broncos side of things, we see Reynolds get named again, which is great. In terms of the other guys, Cobbo's been named there. Ezra Mam gets the 6 jersey, which is pretty cool. And if you picked him up in your side, you're absolutely cheering that he gets named this week as well. Billy Walters in 9 again. Haas has been named to back up. Same with Carrigan. And pretty much the exact same team as what they had before the Reynolds injury. Kurt Capewell's the only one that we see that's going to have a rest and be out, because he's played all year, so a couple of these guys have missed a few games and stuff, so it makes sense why Kurt would be the guy to miss out. In terms of the Raiders side of things, Savage is obviously named there. We don't see any CNK, which is good for anyone who owns him. So hopefully another decent score and another price bump as well. And the other guys, we've got White and Foggs are in there. And then we've got Adam Elliott in a 13 jersey. Starling still named in 14. So I think he's a trade out now. Yeah, definitely time for him to be moved on. Tarpany's a very interesting one with Papali'i being named to play as well. Joseph's been playing super well, but I'm not sure if you pick him up now with round 17 around the corner. Tigers v Eagles. Sad to see, that Mike Maguire's gone. Unfortunately, for him that he's had a rough bunch of years and he's now been given the sack, and then Nathan Brown stepping down as well. So 2 coaches this week. Very, very upsetting for those guys, but it'll be interesting to see who the Tigers end up with. Hastings has been named this week, guys. If you hold him all this way, you're going to hold him at least until after 17, I think. He has had some time to rest on his foot. The nerve issues and stuff will hopefully improve from here. And Hastings will go back to some decent scores. In terms of their forwards, we've got Luke Garner, so we'll actually speak about him as well as being a potential mid-range option who's been scoring pretty well. But we know what he's been like overall across the last few years anyway in that position. In terms of the Eagles, Garrick's been scoring well, Kohler there as well. And then forwards, Olakuatu would be anyone that I'd be tempted to pick up in this one. And that's a pretty cheeky bench, isn't it? Kepi, Tapau, Schuster, and Walker. It's definitely going to help them out. But that's that one. We've got DCE named to back up, which we thought we would. Knights v Panthers. Kalen Pong has been named to back up. You've got Milford Clifford. Gags has been named as well. And then we've got Clemmer as a potential option we'll speak about as well, who's been absolute superstar the last bunch of weeks. Kurt Mann been named on the bench again. So, minutes he'll take off through the middle. Barnett, for example, he might move to an edge for a brief period of time. We'll work that out as we go. And in terms of the Panthers, we have Cleary, Luai, all the boys been named. They're pretty well back to full strength. Assuming that nothing goes wrong in Origin, which is really, really cool news. We got Kurt Falls in 24, for example. If you picked him up, potential for a late call-up, but just keep him in mind there. If he does get a late call-up, you probably want to play him. And then Warriors v the Sharks. So we see Walshy still waiting for that big breakout game. They still go with Johnson, Harris, DeVita. In terms of the forwards, you've got Tavanga, Aiken, Harris as per normal. Josh Curran moved to the bench, so he's back in the team. They need that bit of a punch from him, which will be great. Really, really needed, that's for sure. In terms of the Sharks, Sam, we've got McInnes as a great option this week. We'll speak about him as well. Kennedy's in the 1 jersey, hopefully a positive score for him. Nico Hines has been named as well, so he should be, given he's 18th man. And that's all we really need to talk about in terms of those guys. So, last game of the round, Dogs v the Eels. So Averillo's been named in the 1 jersey. Carraz is still there, which is great. We'll speak about Averillo a bit. Could come up against, obviously a tougher opponent here in the Eels. And we'll see how his point scoring comes out. Matt Burton, obviously a solid one as well, to pick up a gun that's going to do really well. We don't see Tavita Pangai. He's in the 23 jersey. So, King still gets that opportunity in the 13. I'd be holding on to him. Jackson should do well as well. For Tyler Marinat with maybe some increased minutes up to about 60 this week. I think will be solid, but it's a bit of an awkward one. Do you pick him up now in that mid-range when he's got round 17? He's not going to play, for example, there. Eels side of the ball, we got Dylan Brown as a great option. Same with Mitch Moses. Penasini, if you held on to him, awesome. Gutho as well. Reed Mane. So there's a bunch of Eels guys that are very good options this week, heading into 14 all the way to 17 and holding as guns for the rest of the year, which is great. You've got Papali'i. If you don't own him, I'd be getting him ASAP. And Ryan Madison is named this week. So they are the team list for round 14. I hope that you enjoyed that. Got a lot out of it. If you did, like this video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all of you. We'll catch you in the next video, guys. See you later.